meat tax to encourage people?
Yes. I'm just going to say yes.
Yes. What would you say that? What, like a quid a sausage?
I have no idea.
He's an energy boss, a former New Age traveller, a Labour donor, a vegan football club owner, and a man who said he's shifting from supporting Just Stop Oil to just stopping Tories. Never a man to duck a scrap. Dale Vince, welcome to Never Mind the Ballots.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Boilers, heat pumps, expensive electric cars, green levies. Our readers constantly feel like they are paying the price for a policy that they were never asked about. How do you justify it to them?
Well, I would say that actually the green economy, the move to net zero, is better for us economically than to stick with fossil fuels. Now, that's not just my opinion. The Office for Budgetary Responsibility reported this to Rishi Sunak about 3 months ago. They said it will cost twice as much to the economy to stick with fossil fuels as to move to green energy.
But the transition to that is going to be incredibly painful, isn't it?
I don't think so, because it's better for us. So the sooner we get there, the better.
So do you think that if the way that net zero was sort of foisted upon the country as a sort of policy, it went through basically on the nod in Parliament, there wasn't any real debate around it, there was no referendum even, or no one was ever asked, do you think it would have been better to take our readers and take the country with the politicians on this? Because at the moment there seems to be a total disconnect between its advocates and its bearers.
Yeah, I think it's become a bit of a kind of culture war issue, if I can say that. We know it's going to be a battleground at the election. I think that's unnecessary. The political, scientific and economic consensus is the world needs to get to net zero. Not just because it's good for the economy, but of course we avoid the climate crisis, which is bad for the economy. We see evidence of that all around us.
How are we going to do it then?
Go. We have everything we need. We have the technology. The economics are on our side. The people are on our side. We just don't have a government that gets it. So how we do it is at this next election.
What's the question you're asking voters?
I'm not asking them a question. I'm saying this is an opportunity to change everything, to transform our country, to get on board the green economy, the biggest opportunity of this century. It's the next industrial revolution, and Britain is in danger of falling behind. That's one thing to be concerned about. But our standards of living, all of the problems that we face can be solved by the move to a green economy.
Talking about green economy, I think we have some common ground, which is we at The Sun don't particularly like the ban on gas boilers.
Yes.
Which I understand you don't like either.
Well, I think it's misplaced. I think the idea that we have a national programme for heat pumps and that's the answer to decarbonising home heating, I think that's a mistake. I don't think Boris Johnson even thought about it when he announced it as a policy. It'll be hideously expensive. 20% of British homes can never have a heat pump. Bills will go up for everybody with a heat pump.
Presumably electricity bills.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, overall bills, because electricity is more expensive than gas by 4 times. And we have an alternative, which is to... Yeah, you were coming to that.
No, go on, tell the readers. Grass.
We're
going to power the world by grass.
Not the world.
Just the UK?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And we have enough grass to make enough gas to power the whole country. And we built a project in Reading last summer, pilot project. It'll power 4,000 homes a year with gas made from grass. And it's the answer. We don't have to throw away the gas grid and millions of appliances, our boilers, our cookers. We just change the gas in the grid.
So a little bit like running hydrogen through it, but a lot less combustive, presumably.
And a lot more sensible and less expensive.
My problem is that we're an island, and there's a limited amount of acreage to grow that grass. And at the moment, most of that grass is feeding cows and sheep.
Yeah, about 100 million tonnes.
So what are we going to do when you switch over the 10.2 million hectares of agricultural land to have to grow the grass it would need to sustain your grass network?
Well, part of the transition we have to make to get to net zero is to eat less meat. That's a problem.
And how do you enforce that, then?
It's also something we have to do for our own health and the massive decline of nature in our country. 75% of our country is taken up by farming. And if we didn't eat animals, we could give half of that back to nature, half of that entire...
In reality, is that we do eat animals. I know you don't, but lots and lots of people do, and they don't want to give that up.
No, but they don't have to give it up completely. It's about eating less. We have to eat less meat and dairy. But we historically high amounts. If you chart the rise of the consumption of these foodstuffs since the end of the Second World War, they track also the diseases of cancer, heart disease, diabetes, that kind of stuff. They track each other. Our diets are killing us and killing the planet and killing nature.
But, if we gave over all the grasslands and vast amounts of our agricultural land to growing grass to power our homes, you're not going to be able to stop British people eating bangers and steaks it will take years and years to do that. You're basically going to force us into animal imports or into, grim, and I will agree with you, grim factory farming.
Yeah, factory farming is actually the problem. It's not grazing animals in the countryside, it's factory farming. But look, this transition is happening. Over the last 10 years, red meat consumption in our country is down 30%. People are making this choice already. They see the effect on themselves and they're making choices.
Want a meat tax to encourage people?
Yes, I'm just going to say yes.
Yes. What would you say that? What, like £1 a sausage?
I have no idea. But look, red meat is the most destructive form of meat that we have available to us in terms of human health and planetary impact. And so it makes sense to put a tax on that, to steer people's behaviour. That's how taxes work. That's what they're for.
Yeah, well, in principle, people tend to find ways of avoiding that. Do you still think there's an animal holocaust in this country? You once wrote that the idea we're subjecting them and their families to violent and cruel holocausts.
Well, look, there's 1 billion animals in our country bred and killed every year. 1 billion. There's only 60 million people in our country. And the conditions they live in are just abhorrent. I don't know if you're familiar with factory farming, but most animals in our country live in factory farms.
Is language like holocaust helpful, though?
I don't know if it's helpful or not.
You seem to get away with saying things that most people can't. But I couldn't say, but yeah, you seem to have a habit of getting away with that. Look, I get it. Look, your alternative to what is being proposed now is, extremely expensive. But there are...
What? Sorry, what was...
Your alternative, switching over your grass-based...
It's not extremely expensive?
It is extremely... How are you going to pay for it? It's going to take years, and it's extremely expensive.
It's economic. It's more economic than fossil gas. Right now. And if you look at the energy crisis, what were we paying? Our bills were increased fourfold just 2 years ago. They're still double what they should be. And it's because we depend on global markets for fossil fuels.
I'll give you places where the bills haven't gone up. United States and France.
Yep.
France got nuclear. United States got fracking. That's true energy independence.
And they don't allow it out of their country.
We could do similar. You seem to be... Why are you opposed to stuff that clearly works in other countries rather than doing it here? Is it an ideological thing?
No, you're not comparing apples with apples. If we cap the price of North Sea gas, if we don't allow it to leave our country...
It goes into the grid, though, is the problem. It goes into the European grid.
It doesn't, and it doesn't have to. If we were like America, then we would be more insulated from global fossil fuel prices than we are today. We're completely open to it because that's how we've set ourselves up. So you're comparing apples to apples. And in any case, fossil fuels are running out and we can't afford to burn them.
Nuclear fuels not.
Actually, they are. The world has passed peak uranium already. We're using more uranium every year than we mine, and by 2050 there'll be a global shortage of uranium. And we don't make it in Britain.
20 years ago, if we'd been, if we'd got our ducks in a row on nuclear power, we would be in the situation where France is in now and have cheaper energy bills. Surely that's a good thing for the consumer.
France has a state-owned energy company. That's why
you're trying to make a state-owned energy company, aren't you? You're in Ed Miliband.
That's why they have cheap energy bills. Don't make the mistake of thinking that nuclear is cheap because France has low energy bills. That's not what's happening. It's heavily subsidised.
And what about the fracking in the United States? We've experimented with fracking in this country. Lots of people got upset, but it's clear from the United States that it's helped them with their energy independence.
Yeah, but that's because they don't allow it to leave the country.
Well, why can't we do the same? Is it the structure or the actual issues? You just don't like the fracking, right?
Well, yeah, I think fracking is a bad idea, and we don't need it. We don't need new forms of fossil fuels. What we have, we should use. So the North Sea, we should let it run out. But meanwhile, we should stop it leaving the country, and we should actually cap the price of North Sea gas and then break the link. In our market, we allow the price of gas to set the price of electricity. If we don't allow that, we can knock £5 billion a year off our energy bills.
Rishi Sunak called you, and I'm going to quote, to get it right, an eco-zealot who's writing Keir Starmer's energy policy. He's got a point, hasn't he?
No.
Are you writing Keir Starmer's energy policy?
No.
We'll come on to that. But are you an eco-zealot?
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I'm going to say yeah, sure, why not? Why not? But, I think Rishi Sunak is a fossil fool.
A fossil fool?
Yes.
I can't even say that. Fossil fool.
Fossil fool.
All right, nothing name. You also called him crooked, but,
And he's unelected. He's illegitimate. He doesn't deserve to be our Prime Minister. I mean, you talk about net zero not having the backing of the country. Rishi Sunak doesn't have it.
Well, election is looming, possibly sooner rather than later, if the rumours are to be believed today. Another group that's not elected, though, is your mates at Just Stop Oil. So you said you supported and funded Just Stop Oil since its foundation, and given them more than 340 grand, is that?
Oh, I don't know. I wasn't keeping count.
That's fair.
I'm not going to argue.
That must be nice. You don't seem to be doing too badly out the Green Revolution. Do you agree with their tactics?
Yeah, I've said this before. I think the time for disruptive protests has passed. I think what they did was the right thing at the right time. It then became clear that not only was Rishi Sunak not going to listen to them, he was going to do the opposite. He was going to issue more licenses for oil and gas because he saw a culture war opportunity in the issue.
It's not a culture war opportunity. It's people getting naffed off that they can't get to work. They can't get to their doctor's appointments. They're getting blocked from going about their daily lives by a very small minority of people committing criminal behaviour.
I'm talking about culture war opportunity in the issue of drilling in the North Sea. That's what I'm talking about.
Is that not just basic energy security and the fact that we've got the resources there, we've got the infrastructure there, another 20 years, our entire net zero plans carry on drilling?
It's moral and economic madness, according to the United Nations, to drill for more fossil fuels. Plus, there's only 10% of the North Sea left. It's the last drops that we're trying to wring out of it in the face of a climate crisis.
Better than
doesn't make
importing
any
it from
sense.
Russia, though, isn't it?
I don't know if you saw the news today, but the 18 storms we had last winter have been made 10 times more likely by the climate crisis. It should have been a 1 in 50-year event. It's now a 1 in 5-year event. It's 20% wetter. It's causing flooding. It's causing deaths. This, to me, is real disruption. Right? Some people blocking a road for an hour. That's not disruption compared to this.
Disruption, isn't it? It's literally disruption. Did you break the law when you were protesting with them?
Well, I didn't get arrested. Yeah, I did. I don't know if I broke the law, but I was there. 20 million
Did you get
people.
nicked?
No, 20 million people a year get made homeless by the climate crisis right now. 4 million people have already died from the climate crisis globally.
So you're fine when you see the images of ambulances as being blocked.
That never happened.
Yes, it did. I literally saw it on Vauxhall Bridge. Ambulance trying to get over Vauxhall Bridge to get to St Thomas's Hospital.
No, I didn't see that one. But what I did see was a very clear protocol between protesters and the police to let blue lights through.
Right. So, I don't know if you've seen, you probably have, Lord Walney, government advisor on extreme protest groups this week, has said that basically Just Stop Oil should be prescribed. Presumably that's not something you'd like to see.
Did you see Suella Braverman was found to have acted unlawfully by the High Court this week?
I'm sure, but extreme protest group. I mean, what do you say to that? What do you say to the comparison that people that hold workers to ransom without fear or consequences? And said banning terror groups has made it harder for their activists to plan crimes, and that approach should be extended to extreme protest groups. What's your response to that?
I think banning terror groups hasn't made it harder for people to plan crimes. That's a silly thing to say. I think trying to criminalise ordinary peaceful protest in this way is ridiculous. Excuse me. Suella Braverman was found to have acted unlawfully this week by the High Court for what she did to criminalise peaceful protest. We should pay attention to that. This government is illegitimate or led by an illegitimate leader and breaking the law. They declared Rwanda safe by passing an act in Parliament, so the courts now have to deem Rwanda to be safe. They're trying to change facts on the ground. With these things, these acts that they're passing in Parliament.
Can't you see the problem though? Is when you have funded a criminal organisation who knowingly and openly break the law as their modus operandi. It doesn't give you the moral high ground, though, does it?
Just Stop Oil are not criminal.
They literally take criminal action.
No, they don't.
Or smashing up a.
Some of them have been arrested for criminal acts. That's a fact. But Just Stop Oil is not a criminal organisation. That's not a sensible thing to say.
Did Keir Starmer ask you to stop donating to them?
No.
Did you ever discuss your donation? I know you like a cosy chat with Keir.
No, no, actually.
So you've never discussed Just Stop Oil? You never said, no one in the Labour Party said, look, mate, thanks for the wonga, but you're going to need to lose the fringe.
No.
No? You just decided to do that?
It was plainly obvious to me that Rishi Sunak was doing the opposite of what Just Stop Oil were asking for, that we could protest for another 20 years. Nothing was going to change except the laws that criminalise protest. And the only way to stop oil was to stop the Tories at the ballot box. That was simply obvious to me.
Is it acceptance that either what Just Stop Oil has got too far or gone too far? They've gone as far as they can go, or they started to lose the public argument?
There'll be a combination of things, but the simple fact that there was never going to change government policy, in fact, it made it worse, that was enough for me. And that there was an election coming, and our opportunity was to stop the Tories and stop oil that way.
We did some readers' questions. We've got a very good one. Bertie always writes in with an excellent question.
Does
he does. He's a good man. He said, you've donated over £1.4 million to the Labour Party since 2014. You've written a book called Manifesto. You're updating it for this election year, I hear. You said in a Guardian interview last June that you do want to influence policy, but not by buying access. Is it time for the Dale Vince party?
No.
You're not going to stand for election? Surely that's the natural journey you're on, isn't it?
No, well, I thought about it, but I don't think being an MP would suit me, and I think that I can have more of an impact by not being an MP. This is the calculation I made. It's in my book. I did think about being an MP, and I thought, look, as an independent voice, somebody that spent 30 years in green energy, and not just energy, but food and transport as well, the three big issues that drive the climate crisis, I understand the technology and the economics, and I know what we need to do, and I think I can advocate for that better by being outside Parliament.
Why are you giving Labour Party money if it's not to shape the direction of the Labour Party?
I want them to win.
Just straight up. You've never had any. You've never got on the blower and said, you know what?
Can you do this? Can you do that? No, I wouldn't. I would never dream of it.
Were you annoyed when they scaled back their ambitions on the green stuff?
I wasn't. I went on on various media channels that day. I was asked, did I know it was coming? I didn't. I found out about it in the news like everybody else did. And I said, look, the 28 billion is not an important number. What's important is that we have a government that pursues the green agenda, the green economy. And it made sense to me not to commit to a number, 28 billion in this case, that Labour didn't know that they would be able to afford because they didn't know when the election was coming. They'd made the pledge 2 years ago when the economic circumstances were very different. And it made sense to update it and say, do you know what, we'll spend what we can when we can. And the public want to hear that. They want a government that's responsible. So I understood it.
You've been a Green supporter, back Caroline Lucas, I think. You've been a Corbynista for a while. How'd you square Keir Starmer with that? He's not exactly a revolutionary lefty like yourself, is he?
I have no idea. But I don't need to square anything. We have a simple choice in our country. We've had 14 years of Tory rule. Our country's on its knees. Everything around us is a disaster. We know the direction of their game, and that's more drilling, more anti-green rhetoric and that kind of stuff. They'll focus on small boat crossings beyond actually running the country, and that's not.
You've got to stop. I mean, how you stop?
3.5%.
You're happy with the people entering this country illegally?
So you know that 3.5% of all net immigration is via small boats.
Sure, but it's still a problem.
And immigration doubled since Brexit. It didn't go down, it doubled. So why are we focused on the 3.5%?
You just think just let them come?
Why are we focused on it like nothing else matters?
Because it's a criminals gang.
What about
I don't particularly want to go down this line,
the other 96.5%? What are we doing about that?
Well, yeah, indeed. But I mean, we can talk about immigration another day. We'll try and stick to the green stuff. Claire Coutinho was on the show last week. I'm here, you're a big fan of her, the Energy Secretary. She says that Labour's policy, basically, because they're going too far, too fast on the green stuff, will leave us overly reliant on China for imports of electric cars, of solar panels, and we need time to allow our domestic and European markets to catch up. That's a fair criticism, isn't it?
No. I don't think so. I don't think that's rooted in the real world. I think maybe Claire doesn't know that 80% of all of the solar panels in the world are from China.
Yeah, but that's the point. We need to allow ourselves time.
And how long should we allow?
Well, the target's 2035 for different for the energy stuff now. And Labour are saying they want to bring that forward to 2030.
We had solar manufacturing in our country in Wales, and it
not enough there.
Well, there wasn't enough government support.
Well, it's not all about government support. There clearly wasn't a market for it.
But that's what government support can be, creating a market.
But you don't see the hypocrisy of buying solar panels to make us feel better at home from a country that has 1,000 coal-fired power stations.
It doesn't make us feel better. It helps us. It makes cheap energy for us.
But they're using coal to make the... I'm not going to swear. They're using coal to make the solar panels. It's just virtue signalling, isn't it?
You have to look a little bit closer at China than that and get past the kind of the right-wing tropes. China.
It's not a right-wing trope to say that China has 1,000 fired coal power stations. That's a fact.
Okay, but they also have 50% green electricity on the grid for a country of over 1 billion people.
Yeah, I mean they're also a communist dictatorship that build dams, hydroelectric dams wherever they damn choose without, I'm not sure we could hold them up as a 90%, beacon.
90% of the buses on the road in China are electric.
You say, yep, sure. It's also a communist authoritarian dictatorship. But you think the green stuff trumps all the other stuff?
Most of the stuff we buy in this world comes from China.
But the point I'm trying to make is it's made from coal and it's one of the most polluting countries in the world, if not the most polluting
Using
country.
fossil fuels to transition to green energy is not a problem. All right.
What do you drive?
I drive a pink Lotus.
A pink Lotus? Is it here? Can I have a look?
It's not here, no.
Let's do some quick fire. It's all got a bit serious.
Yeah.
Are you the British Elon Musk?
No, God, no.
I hear you don't like him. What happened? Surely you should like him. It's Teslas and green stuff.
He's a bit of a dick, isn't he?
Bit of a dick?
Yeah.
You said that climate change denial should be illegal.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, it's dangerous, right? It causes confusion and doubt where there is none, scientifically, and it will lead to harm, death, displacement, that kind of stuff. But the climate crisis is happening right now. It's happening all around us. And people that deny it are putting off and delaying the actions that we need to take, sowing confusion and doubt.
Sure. But how do you do it? How do you make it illegal? You can't outlaw an opinion.
Well, the Holocaust denial is illegal.
Sure. So you think people should go to prison?
Well,
or be fined or be banned from coming on shows?
I haven't given any thought to what the consequences should be, but I simply think that we shouldn't allow it.
You've got quite an authoritarian streak, haven't you?
No, I simply think we shouldn't allow it. We have laws for everything. We should have a law that stops this great harm from being done, which is climate denial.
But you'd literally happily see people... I mean, until a matter of years ago, it is, and some people still believe the science behind climate change is subject to debate. Don't necessarily have to be one of those people to say locking people up or fining them or banning them from no platforming them is counterproductive.
All I've said is it should be illegal.
Illegal. All right. Forest Green Rovers.
Yes.
You've been relegated.
Yes, I know.
Twice.
Yes, I know.
Where are you now in the conference?
Yes.
Isn't that just proof that veganism doesn't work?
No.
Does it really? You got a wooden stadium?
No, we're planning to build one.
Planning to build a wooden stadium.
Yeah.
You're going to get that through health and safety, you reckon?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Wood is safer in a fire than steel. Did you know that? Did you know that? It's
I didn't know that.
counterintuitive.
Is it really?
Yeah, it is.
We'll check that. We'll check that fact. So, vegan kit, vegan food. Players have to eat vegan food?
Well,
Just the fans?
The food we make for our fans, our staff, our players, that's all plant-based, no animals in it, vegan, if
But
you
they're
like.
allowed to eat KFC at home.
yeah.
All right, that's not illegal. No. That's not illegal. Going back to your litigiousness, you're suing quite a lot of people. Every day I see a different Tory MP popping up to say...
Sorry.
I'm sorry, yeah, but...
Yes.
You seem to be only going after Tories. But Angela Rayner, there were these comments you made where you said... alleged to have... no one's saying you supported Hamas, but you did say...
But they're saying it. That's why they're
Listen,
apologising.
but you did say one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist.
That's right.
Do you believe that?
It's a fact. It's a truism of our world.
We'll get into the Hamas in a sec. But Angela Rayner said that comment was appalling, said the interview was appalling, and Labour have distanced themselves and on the record slagging it off.
That's not true. Labour haven't distanced themselves. Angela Rayner was doorstepped with a partial version.
But you're not asking her to correct it.
She was told in response to the October 7th atrocities, I simply said one man's freedom fighter, which she said was appalling language and language is important. I've since sent her the entire clip. She accepts that she was given the wrong version of what actually happened. And what she didn't say was I was a supporter of Hamas, which the Tory MPs, GB News, the Daily Mail, all of those people went much further than that and accused me of supporting terrorism and Hamas and all this kind of stuff.
So you agree one man's freedom fighter. On the Hamas thing, how are you even making that point, though, in the same sentence of, you're asked about Hamas and Israel, but you literally, by saying one man's freedom fighter is another man's terrorist, you're you're into justification territory, aren't you?
No, it was a longer interview than that, and it's worth looking at the whole thing.
So you don't think Hamas are terrorists, right?
Yes.
And you don't think they're freedom fighters?
Not to me, not to us. But
Just make that clear.
But to some parts of the world they are. Surely that's clear.
Dale Vince, it's been fascinating. I didn't know about wood, so I have learned something. I'm not sure about the grass. I don't think so.
But
and I'm pretty sure your meat tax is not a vote winner.
let me tell you one more thing then.
Go on.
We, in the lab, have extracted protein from grass that humans can eat.
You're not one of these people that wants us all eating insects, are you?
Just grass.
Just grass. You want us to eat grass?
We can eat grass.
We can eat grass and power. So it's just a grass-based economy.
We can get food and energy from the same piece of ground now for the first time ever.
With no tax.
Why would we tax it? It's a good thing.
Dale Vince, thanks for coming on Never Mind the Ballots.